Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful question. What if you could actually walk to everything you need? We're going to use New Zealand's proposed planning reforms as our guide for totally reimagining the modern neighborhood. So let's kick things off with a question I'm pretty sure you've asked yourself before, maybe while you're stuck in traffic or just walking what feels like an eternity to grab a coffee. Why is everything so spread out? Well, get this. That feeling of isolation, it's not some accident. It's actually by design. For decades, our planning rules have been set up to intentionally separate where we live from where we work and where we shop. And that brings us to the core problem. This car-first model doesn't just hit our wallets and the environment. The sources we're looking at say it leads to negative productivity and really damages our social well-being. All right, so to really get where we're heading, we have to understand how we got here. Let's take a look at the old rulebook, the Resource Management Act, and see how it created the sprawling, car-dependent suburbs that so many of us live in today. What's being proposed here is a massive philosophical shift. I mean, it's huge. The old way was all about exclusive zoning, basically banning different kinds of activities from being near each other. But the new way? It's inclusive. It's not about banning things, it's about managing their effects. So you might be wondering, where did this new idea come from? Well, planners in New Zealand are looking to Japan, which has a really successful model for building these kinds of integrated, walkable communities. And this really gets to the heart of the idea. It's all about managing what they call externalities. So think of it this way. Instead of just banning a small cafe from a residential street, the new rules would focus on managing its nuisance factors, things like noise, operating hours, or delivery trucks. And this is what you get. This is the result. You get these incredibly vibrant, human-scaled neighborhoods where homes and little shops can exist side by side. It lets a community grow and evolve naturally into a place that's just better to live in. Okay, so how do they actually make this happen? Well, that leads us to the key mechanism, the real engine behind this whole thing, a principle called as of right. It's designed to knock down the biggest roadblock to creating these kinds of neighborhoods. So the crucial point is this. As of right just means that certain low-impact activities are allowed by default. This is so important because it gets rid of all that bureaucratic friction, the super expensive and time-consuming process that stops a corner store or a small office from ever opening up in your neighborhood. Now, to be clear, we're not talking about putting a noisy factory next to a house. The reform specifies a very narrow range of low-impact businesses that actually serve the local community. The kinds of things you'd love to be able to just walk to on a Saturday morning. The focus is often on bringing those sleepy, forgotten corner sides to life, just like this one. With as-of-right rules, these spots could transform into these amazing little social hubs that actually build a real sense of community. And there's a huge economic benefit here, too. This whole system lowers the barrier to entry for local entrepreneurs. It fosters innovation and makes it so much easier for someone to take their home-based business and turn it into a real local shopfront. So what's the big picture? What's the ultimate goal here? Well, the sources all point to a really clear vision, creating what they call complete neighborhoods, places where you can get your daily needs met within a short walk or a bike ride from your own front door. And a huge piece of this puzzle is encouraging what's known as gentle density, or missing middle housing. Basically, it just means having more variety in housing, things like duplexes and townhouses that bridge that gap between single-family homes and big apartment towers, giving people way more choice. And this slide, this really shows you the shift we're talking about. It's the before and after shot. Moving away from this kind of isolated, car-centric design and toward integrated, green, people-focused communities where walking isn't just possible, it's actually enjoyable. The goal, as one source puts it, is actually pretty simple but also profound. Create places where everyday life can happen right outside your door. It's all about bringing life back into our neighborhoods so you don't always have to get in a car to live it. Okay, let's start to wrap this up. Where does this all lead? What is the promise of these reforms? And maybe more importantly, what are the big questions they leave us with? See, the sources argue that these changes are about so much more than just convenience. They have the potential to create a more socially connected, economically resilient, and accessible way of life, especially for kids, the elderly, and anyone who can't or doesn't drive. And really, this image captures the heart of it all. This is the vision that's driving the entire reform. A city that's built around human well-being, where shared spaces and local connections are literally designed into the fabric of the neighborhood. But that leaves us with one final big question. A new rulebook can give us the blueprint. It can build a better stage for a community to flourish, but it can't write the script. At the end of the day, it's still up to people to actually bring that stage to life.